What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another movie review. My name's Big Cam, and today we are talking about 2025's Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I finally got over to see it. I was avoiding the trailers, I was avoiding spoilers. It took me weeks to get over to the theaters and see this because my mother kept punting. Every time we went to go see it, she'd be like, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. We wait the week, maybe next week, maybe next week. We were supposed to see it Wednesday, then we were supposed to see it Friday, then we were supposed to see it Saturday, then we ended up seeing it Sunday. And we finally got over to it on Father's Day and went over, saw it 11 o'clock a.m. showtime, which I think is the best way to see a movie like this, because you get in at 11, it was 11:15, by the time it started, it was 11:40, right, because a half hour of friggin' trailers. So by 11:40 we are now starting a movie that should have started at 11:15, so it's almost noon, and then it's a 2-hour 50-minute movie, you know, damn near 3 hours. So you're talking starting at noon, we damn near almost got out of there at 3 o'clock, you know, we got there at 11, like crazy. But this movie is directed by Christopher McQuarrie, and me and my mother went to see this yesterday, and it was wonderful, and we had a great time, and we were like sitting in the theater, and you know, for her, she hadn't seen the movies in a while, so that you know, I originally had heard that the first hour of the 3-hour movie is like all catching up in you know, flashbacks. That is not the case. It's more like the first 5 minutes is catch up in flashbacks, right? Like almost like a recap of the first 7 movies, and then they start to get into the movie, and there is some parts that are slow. You know, this could have been 2.5, maybe even 2 hour and 20 if they wanted just to tighten it up a little bit, but they decided just to like, hey, this is the last one. We're really gonna sit and milk every moment of this for what it's worth, you know? And a lot of emotional parts where, like, you know, I won't spoil it for the people that are big fans out there, but, you know, there's people we lose, people that we almost lose, and they tease you like, oh, is he gonna die? Is he not? Ooh, maybe. You're gonna have to stick around and find out, and you're sitting there like, if they kill him, I'm gonna be pissed, you know? But then there's other people that you're like, God, is he really dead? Who knows? You know, like, in the last movie, they killed Rebecca Ferguson, which I don't find a spoiler, because now it's the last movie, and there's now a new one. So if you didn't see that one and you're talking about this one, screw you. I don't know. But Rebecca Ferguson, I thought, should have been in this film, but in her defense, Tom Cruise takes 2 years to film these movies, and she went and did like multiple seasons of Silo for Apple TV Plus and filmed 2 different Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2 movies that were both like in the desert and like crazy movies. And she filmed 2 of those and a TV show in the time that he filmed one of these movies. And she's like, listen, I'm not Tom Cruise. I need to go make my money. I need to act. I'm not just going to sit around and wait for you to figure out the script. Which, you know, most movies, they show up to the set and they already have the script, and then they, you know, figure out what they're doing, a little blocking, rehearsing, and then they're off and running. Tom Cruise, seems like him and Christopher McQuarrie got to the sets and then started to figure out the script in the movie as they went. And you can kind of tell at times, like in the last one, Dead Reckoning, that felt like that was the case, where they were like, didn't really have a clear vision, and they were just kind of figuring it out as they went. And it was like, oh, well, what if we go up on this cliff and ride a bike off of it to parachute onto a train? And it's like, did you need to do that? Not really. You could have just rode up next to the train and hopped on like a normal people, like we've seen done hundreds of times on horseback or whatever. You didn't need to parachute. You wanted to parachute. But in this movie, there's a crazy plane stunt, but it doesn't feel like it's just, you know, oh, it's a crazy plane stunt because he wanted to do the crazy plane stunt. He wanted to do the stunt, but then they wrote it into the movie a little bit better, where like the guy he's chasing after, and he takes a plane, but he had an extra one, so now there's 2 planes and they're taking after each other. And it's like, okay. That one felt a little bit better to me than the train cliff jump on the motorcycle, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, there's some of these movies that I absolutely love to pieces, and some of them that I'm just like, man, like, Tom Cruise is a nutso man, and he's just trying to kill himself on camera for our entertainment. Like, that's so crazy. Like, the man is hanging off of planes in, like, you know, no parachute, just hanging on for dear life, and he had gloves on. I was like, what if the gloves slipped? Like, and you just, no glove, I'm gone. You know, he's flying at something like 140 miles per hour, anywhere from like 90 to 140 miles per hour, sometimes inches off the ground. Like, we're talking 15 feet off the ground, which to a plane is like an inch off the ground. Like, it looked insane seeing this guy on this plane, and you're just like, what is happening? And then there was also another sequence where he's underwater on a submarine in what supposedly was Antarctic waters, which is just insanity. And they filmed a sequence with the real Navy submarine, right? So at one point he comes out of this like tank and he steps out into the water, and we see, right? So he's getting off of a submarine, an American sub, and they're being followed by a Russian sub. Right, so inside the sub, they only see that they're being followed because of the sonar. But when you're like, you look out the window of a plane and you're like, oh shit, there's another plane. There's no real windows on a sub. So this guy like opens up the hatch to like go dive down to his sub that he's trying to get to, and he sees the Russian sub, and some guy in the theater went, holy shit, you know, like, and my mother loved it. She was like, ah, like we love when the people in the crowd of a movie theater react to something audibly in the movie, right? Like, it's not talking to me. Like, you shouldn't be chatting and talking in the movie about your day-to-day life. Like, you shouldn't be like, hey, Tim, I'm not doing nothing, how are you? You know, like, you shouldn't be answering phone calls in the movie, you shouldn't be texting in the movie. But if you want to lean over next to the person next to you and go, this is insane, and then go back to watching, I don't have any problem with that at all. Not a single bit, right? Like, and it's funny because my roommates are very like, you know, hey, what happened there? I missed something. Shh, you know, and he shushes you. And I'm like, do you want me to make a fucking scene right here? You want me to beat your ass? We're like, my buddy Langone, and we're like, yo, that was crazy. And he's like, what? You know, like, we just can't even help it. We're just audibly like, oh, you know, like, there was quite a few parts in this Tom Cruise movie where like, I was sitting there going, oh boy, and, you know, because you know he's doing this shit for real. You could see his face, and like, you know, he's underwater, and these like missiles or like even nukes or whatever, ginormous torpedoes are falling, and I know that those rounds are like thousands of pounds apiece, and he's just like dodging them in between. I go, dude, if he got stuck between those, like he's crushing a limb or like getting smushed, like highly risky stuff, man. But God, and then he kind of leaves it open. Like, as much as this is supposed to be the final reckoning and the final one, I think there could be a Mission Impossible 9 in the future. And it's really all comes down to if Tom Cruise turns 70 and he's still able to run the way he is, right? And like, granted, him and Christopher McQuarrie, they have like 8 movies, he said, that he wants to make right now. And after those 8 movies, I guess he'll see where he's at. But if it's 8 movies and they take 2 years apiece, like Mission Impossible does for Tom Cruise, we're talking 16 years from now. How old's he gonna be? 80? Like, he's not gonna be in shape to be doing, you know, I don't think any of us want to see 80-year-old Tom Cruise being a Mission Impossible guy, you know. And at that point, maybe he's got to pass on the torch, and maybe he gives Glenn Powell the choice to be like, hey, you want to do crazy stunts? You want to fly planes? You want to run for the rest of your career and just full speed? I think he'd be game, you know, and he'd have the charisma and the acting chops. But I don't know if people would take it as serious as they do Tom Cruise, right? Because Tom Cruise is funny in these movies, but like, you see Tom Cruise doing these stunts and you're like, no, this is serious. There's stakes, man. And, you know, I really, really enjoyed this film. But it's not my favorite of the Mission Impossible franchise. So this film, overall, I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I initially had gave it 7, you know, a 7 out of 10, and 3.5 out of 5 stars. But as I thought about it more and more throughout the day, I go, no, it is a 4 out of 5, but it's just closer to like an 8. It's like an 8, 8-1, you know, right on the dot. And, you know, just other movies that are just a little bit better, like Fallout and Dead Reckoning, I like just a touch more. And then some of the middle ones, like Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol, are just phenomenal freaking movies that I can watch any day of the week. So they maybe sit a little bit higher. But my official ranking of the Mission Impossible movies goes number 1, Fallout, number 2, Dead Reckoning, number 3, Rogue Nation, number 4, Ghost Protocol, number 5 is Final Reckoning, and number 6, Mission Impossible 3, number 7 is Mission Impossible 1, which also they bring a guy back from Mission Impossible 1, and he's got like a pretty substantial role in this Final Reckoning, and I just love to see him back. He was so good. And then Mission Impossible 2 is my least favorite of the bunch and coming in at number 8. Although that movie's still pretty decent as well. But for me, when Mission Impossible 3 on, you know, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all insane movies to me. Number 1's pretty insane as well, but like it's just setting the tone of like it's like a good movie, but it doesn't have like what the rest of these films do with like the crazy stunts and Tom Cruise really wanting to push the envelope and, you know, get there, you know, like he's a madman. And I think, you know, I'm going to call it now. I genuinely think if he can get his next 8 movies done, say, you know, sometimes it takes 6 to 8 weeks to film a movie and then you're on to the next one. You know, look at Pedro Pascal. He's got like 8 movies coming out this year. And you're like, okay, Tom, okay, so maybe it takes him like a year, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4 years to do 8 movies. And now he would be 67? I think 67, he can start working on Mission Impossible 9, and then by the time he's either finished or that comes out, he'll be like 69, almost 70. I think that will be the final Mission Impossible, and I think they got one more, and I think he wants to try and go to space, is all my predictions. But comment below, do you think this is the final Mission Impossible? If so, drop your ranking, or message me on my other social medias, Big Cam, 2Gs in the Big, pretty much anywhere, Threads, Twitter, Instagram, ComicallyBoston on Instagram as well, Letterboxd, Big Cam, you can go check me out, links down in the description below. And if you've made it this far in the video and you would like to support me and the channel, the best way to do that is liking this video, subscribing if you haven't already, hitting that bell so you don't miss future videos and you get the notifications when they come out, and commenting and sharing this video with a friend are all great ways to get these videos out into the algorithm and help the channel grow. And I highly appreciate anybody that's made it this far, and I really do love you. My name is Big Cam once again, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!